Okay. Okay. Sounds better already. And let's see, waiting for a participant. Hey, Yanira. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me better?
I don't know what that was. So Yanira Cortez, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? You're a housing advocate and you were a Newark resident. Can you give us a little bit about what happened while you were here in the city of Newark?
Okay, so my name is Yanira Cortez, and I'm a Newark advocate. I'm also a HUD tenant coalition member. I'm a board member for the National Low Income Housing Coalition. I lived in Newark for, well, since I was little. I lived under Aspen Stratford all the way until I was 21 or 22. I moved on my own into Pueblo City. That was 2011. And that's when everything started. So Pueblo City was my first apartment. And the housing crisis there started deteriorating around 2013. And it started getting worse as the years went by. I recently moved out of there in 2018, which was September 2018. And I moved out because of the rat infestation. We had roaches and issues with the leaks, as well as them trying to patch up and not actually resolve the matter. So that's what led me to actually leave out of Newark to Ocean County now.
And you were working at Rutgers, you were taking classes at Rutgers, and you had to leave all of that.
Yes, so I was a student manager for Rutgers tech store, and I had applied for Rutgers and was going to begin going to school in September when I actually had to move September. So I left everything behind, yeah, my job and everything.
That's a huge sacrifice, but you did that for your children and their safety. I saw some of the pictures of these really large rodents that you were embattled with, and people just think of roaches as insects. They carry disease. And if you have a child with any type of respiratory issue, it is super problematic. So you did absolutely the right thing. Your housing is lovely where you are, and I'm glad that you're safe and secure, but a lot of people aren't given that option. Like you got lucky being an advocate, you advocated for yourself. Do you have any suggestions for young moms or elderly people who feel that they're stuck there? I can't imagine that if 78% of Newark's population is renters, if everybody had to vacate and leave that are having issues, the city would be empty. So tell me, what do you suggest? Do you in your battle? Because I'm an advocate, I battle for you on the sideline. I'm not having those same type of conditions. Can you give us a little heads up? What should we be doing if we find ourselves in these situations?
I always tell people to reach out to everybody, be consistent with it. I mean, as far as HUD, as far as your city officials, as far as code enforcement, just anybody, even the senators, because that's where I also went to. You have to push the issue. It is stressful. Like I tell everybody, it's not easy. It took a lot to actually get to where I am now.
2
and a lot-
years.
yeah, it was overwhelming. I started having issues 2013. 2015, there was like insistent, 2015 and 2016, where my landlord was insistent of trying to get me to, basically they were trying to get me out of the apartment. So those years was hard. Actually, if it wasn't for the people that helped me and got me an attorney, my attorney, he took my case pro bono, for my class action lawsuit. So it was a lot of people that really helped me and was listening to me and actually try to help as much as they possibly can. And we got a lot of attention. You know, I had to involve the media. So it's hard. You have to be strong-minded, but you can't give up, because people just think that, oh, I just called and complained to code enforcement 5 times and they're not doing anything. People tend to like, well, if they're not going to do anything, they fall back from it and think that it's okay to still live under the conditions because, they're not getting the results that they want. But you have to actually keep pushing and still be dedicated to getting the results that you want. Because if you don't, no one is going to help you out.
And I want to stress that, and I find that when I speak to other property owners, they're not concerned. It's like, well, I'm keeping my property up, but slumlords bring down the property values in the areas that they set up these slum conditions so that your house is devalued. So when a renter is suffering and living in slum conditions, the properties, the homeowner, privately owned properties that border these properties are decreased by $20,000, $30,000. So by not standing by someone like Yanira and supporting, you are supporting and suborning slumlords and diminishing the value of your own properties. So as a property owner, I fought for you and fought for people like you, and I'm fighting right now because slumlords devalue property across the board in the city of Newark. Yes. So this is a people's fight, okay? Yeah. Many slumlords do not reside in the city of Newark, and they come in and catch that check, get that money, and then go back to Somerset and Edison and Verona and where they reside.
Exactly.
So yeah, this is not just your fight, and I know that you stay active and that you're actively still working to make sure that others live a better life. I want to talk to you, and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try. This is a new computer, not new, but it is. I'm going to see what it's going to do. There we go. So, Garden Spires. I'm doing a survey of housing in all 5 wards, and I'm finding horrific conditions in all the wards. Things that you would not believe are happening in the 21st century. It's like, looks like 17th, 18th century Europe in some cases. It is just unbelievable. And the Garden Spires, it had big plans in 2018. There was a push in 2020 that the mayor announces completions of major renovations at Garden and Spruce Spires, okay? And so $172 million spent there. And $37.3 million rehabilitation for Spruce Spires. So I guess 195 is called one thing and 175 is called the other. I just call them the spires, plural, because they're both together. And I was just there last weekend, and the weekend before that, people who have had floods and had to have abated the floods themselves, that they have doorbells that don't work. One woman was locked out of her building, couldn't get in touch with the maintenance person, and was locked out for 48 hours. So even though you have Sheila Oliver going there, and they took their pictures out in front of the spires, and Raz Baraka was there. I was just there. There is filth and rodent activity where there are small children and asthmatics, active roach feces, which carries disease in itself, hantavirus. There's a lot going on. There are 650 households. I didn't go to all 650, but I did a sampling on each floor, and the floors that I went to, everyone had different problems. So, Yanira, this is the administration that went there. HUD is overseeing this. Evidently, after the fanfare and the ribbon cutting all wore off, they did what you had stated your landlord had started to do, just patching, not actual repairs, but just going in. They said that there were fire violations. I think the fact that there was a fire in an apartment complex next to the woman's house that I went and I filmed, the floor must have been flooded, and her apartment was completely flooded. The maintenance did nothing to abate that. She still has water damage a year later, and the walls are deteriorating. There are other issues in there. The ventilation system, it was so hot, Yanira, it was impossible. For people who are in these massive structures, do you have any advice? I know that your structure where you were wasn't that massive. Stratford had horrible conditions as well. I saw holes in people's apartments. I'm trying to see if I can get any of these images to come up. It was just unacceptable what was happening, and I don't see the images. Yeah, there are like a few images of black mold and things of that nature. Any suggestions?
Basically, you have to contact HUD. You have to keep pushing the issue. I think like the more you stress it and the more you make it public is when people seem to pay more attention to you. That's how I felt about everything. Especially with Stratford. My mom lived in Stratford for 28 years, I believe. 28, 26 years. And the conditions there was probably as bad as the Spires. Maybe the Spires is kind of worse than it is now. But yeah.
They're charging people $1,600 a month. They're taking, like the nicest pictures. And then they have a model apartment. When I went there, I didn't see anybody's apartment looking like this.
Wow.
These pictures. This is not the elevator well where I was. So I don't know if they just like, they got these pictures doctored up, but if anybody's interested, you can go to my videos. They're unretouched. It's not acceptable. Yanira, take a quick listen to this.
Garden Spires, from well cited for code violations to a celebration of what's to come.
If Garden Spires is going to look like these placards you see up on the wall, then the residents have a lot to be look forward to.
Through public-private financing, Garden Spires.
Now that's what I saw just last weekend.
Will go from looking like dilapidated public housing to decked out high-rise condos.
Okay, so that's an image.
Average $80 or $90 or $100,000 per year. That's effectively building new.
Omni America bought these two buildings, Garden Spires, on August 23rd, closing the deal. Now it hopes to make a huge difference in the lives of all of the tenants and to attract even more.
Looking to put the 50 million into this, to these buildings and give tenants what they deserve is quality of life.
The goal is to restore Garden Spires to better than new when it was built in the 1960s.
This was mixed income housing. You saw people of all occupations and professions.
Which is
There
true.
was no stigma attached to living at 175 First Street, and people were clamoring to get apartments here.
But somewhere along the way, decay set in. Garden Spires became run over with rodents and disrepair, and the targets of former mayor and current Senator Cory Booker staged a 10-day protest here, and state senators and housing advocates.
And they need to
Despite
go
the
back
visits, Garden Spires kept passing HUD
tomorrow and
inspections,
stage
and
another.
collecting $6 million a year in federal subsidies. After a previous tour, HUD's regional administrator said,
If I could sue HUD myself, I would.
last July, Newark did sue Garden Spires owners.
That was a turning point.
14 months later, the mayor says the redevelopment fulfills his pledge to keep Newark affordable.
We want decent and affordable housing. We want living conditions that we would live in ourselves.
Patience Roberts has called Garden Spires home for most of her life.
Okay, so let me see. I don't think I can call my videos up. It would take about a minute. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can get something in here. How about this, Yanira?
My cells don't work. I can't answer. No one can hear me, and I can't hear them. I try to buzz my visitors in, and they can't get in.
And it's not feasible for you as a double amputee
Right.
to go run up and down
Right.
on the elevator that's so stiflingly hot, you can't breathe. What do you think of your elevator?
They don't have any ventilation on it, and it's just terrible the way it's constructed here. The way they just threw it together. They didn't put it together. They threw this together, and I know they took that money because I read up on it. They built us on top of a grave site in the first place.
So let's go one more thing, because we're talking about the Spires, but Ivy Hill.
Anytime,
So now tell me, what is all of this? So we just come off the elevator, and this is where people put their trash. It looks like it's been built up for a while. How often do they move this?
most of this is probably gonna get moved on Monday.
But
Monday
I can
morning.
smell it. There's rotting, don't close the door on me, don't close the door on me. But rotting garbage exposed. And I
That's in
don't
the
know how
hallway.
offensive the flies, but there's flies. So there's a lot of flies. This is really horrible.
And that's as tall as I am.
It's not cool. Oh, look at the fly paper. It's got tons of flies on it. Okay, this is not cool.
Oh, thank you.
So you had to walk through all that trash? This,
We have to
so now
walk.
tell me, what is all of this?
So, Yanira.
Wow. I seen stuff like that in Stratford. We had issues with them also dumping trash in Brunswick Street, where the trash containers would be sitting there so
But on
full.
the street though, this is inside
Yes,
the building.
inside the building. So yeah, it's different. That's how it was in Stratford. They had like a shoe where you would throw the stuff, and sometimes that would be like stuck, so you couldn't throw the trash in it. You had to sit in the hallway. So they're supposed to clean that out because that's where all the rodents come from. The roaches, the bugs, different kind of bugs from water bugs, all of that. So that's where they're eating from too, like your rats, your mices, and to have that in the hallway, it's
It's
disgusting.
unbelievable. The stench was unbelievable. I wish I had smell-o-vision that
And you
everybody
know
could smell.
the issue in Newark is that, they'll come out and find them, but when they go to court, they'll lower it to something else, to something different, or sometimes even dismiss it because they show a different picture that is cleaned up, but it's like this, like every other week,
Or every other day,
yeah.
several times a week. And I believe, and I'm not going to keep belaboring this, you've given a lot of great information to the public. I just have to say that people have to stay strong. They need to contact me through social media, Homes for All. Let us know what's happening, and we will come out and document this. And opening this up to the light of day and letting other people know that they're not alone is extremely important.
Yeah.
And I think people have to realize if you're paying money,
That's
you don't have
another
to live
thing
like this.
that people think because, their rent is so low because they live in low income, they're only paying $50 or $100 or $200, $300 is not actual market rent. It's federally funded. They are still getting what they're asking for.
Exactly.
They're still receiving that money that you're not paying it, but the federal government is. And you have to hold people accountable for that, because
Exactly.
that's what it's there for. And I mean, you have to stress the issue. It can't just be one person. It'll be a lot for one person, which I always told, my tenants where I live, I can't do everything alone, because then it puts a strain on you. So
it does, and then it's only your story, and then the improperly written and arcane ordinances that do not support the residents. It's like a slumlord wrote the ordinances. It makes no sense. Newark has to toughen up, tighten up. Code enforcement only has a few individuals working in there. That department must be beefed up. And the ordinances, it doesn't matter if they had 1,000 code enforcement agents, the ordinances are poorly written. And that comes back to our council, our administrators, and our law department has to make adjustments and rewrite these laws to make them stronger. And we need civilian oversight of these various different departments and transparency so that we can see if, in fact, our complaints are being addressed and who's addressing them and what's the status. And that should be an online active site through the city of Newark's existing website where we can go and get this information.
Right, that would be great if they can do all of that, that would be awesome.
Baltimore does it. It's totally possible. And Newark sent their code enforcement agents to Baltimore to observe. And that was 8 years ago, and nothing has been done. We need to demand more oversight, or everybody just leaves the city. Everybody just pull up, everybody goes, and then they'll be left to take care of themselves, and there won't be any pay because there'll be no tenants here. Because definitely we need to go on rent strike and mortgage strike and tax strike and everything until this is addressed. Thank you so much, Yanira.
You're welcome.
What were you gonna say?
I think that will be great if they can do a program like that. That will be so awesome. Not only will it benefit everybody, it will benefit homeowners, it'll benefit the renters, it will benefit everybody, even the city, because they will have more control over, certain situations and how they address it.
Keeping the housing stock, keeping the rateables on the books, because when slumlords ransack houses and have these houses in debilitated states, there's no money coming into the government coffers. There's no money being generated so that they can have their little parties and buy those stale cookies and give them out to the seniors at the senior buildings at election time. So they need to keep everything copacetic, keep the buildings viable. And the only way to do that is to hold people accountable. And if there are elderly or indigent persons who have fallen on hard times, there needs to be a pool of money to help them rehab their buildings as well. So
Yeah.
all these
There's
things are
different ways
possible.
that people can also rehab their buildings too. There's weatherization. I don't know if Essex County allows weatherization to, I think the owner half of the building has to submit that information to try to get help for new windows and whatever they can possibly help them with. I mean, I know that in New York, they do it. A landlord can contact, weatherization and have the building inspected and see what they need and stuff like that. Also, new contractors, the contractors that they're getting as well, they have to make sure that they're actually doing their job.
Yes, that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem. Jack-legged contractors who don't know how to fix, and they come in and make matters worse.
Exactly. Or in matters a month, they can renovate and everything is back to the floor sliding, or they didn't put it in the floors correctly, so now the floor is coming apart.
Yes.
Then there's cracks on the wood and tiles falling apart. And it's also that when they actually fix, I think that it should be gutted out. Like, when you can't just say I'm gonna fix this building and not actually gut it out and fix the actual problem, like whatever pipes need to be replaced.
And that's the problem, you just put your finger on it. Patching. If it's diseased and it's black mold and that has had repeated water infiltration and it has an infestation, you have to dig all that out, remove all of the dirty, cancerous, for lack of a better term, moldy parts of the building, not just put clean sheetrock on top of that. That's been the problem, not just putting plaster on top of water damage. It doesn't work. But Yanira, we've talked a great deal. Can we come back and talk to you again? In a few weeks, I'll have the videos up at these various different places, and I'd like to get your opinion.
Okay, that'll be awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so this was Yanira Cortez, and I'm Helene Freeman from Homes for All Newark. And join us again. We'll have another discussion about housing here in the city of Newark. Thank you, Yanira.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.